Welcome, everybody, to the NFL show on the Girly True Sports Network. The NFL show is brought to you by Replenishing Care and Technologies. Check them out at rcandt.com. Also, we are brought to you by Manscaped, which Sam should be getting. Did you get yours yet, Sam?
No, I haven't. It's coming through New Jersey. I just shipped it somewhere first to get it here because I don't have a mailing address here technically. So it'll be here by next week.
All right, so make sure you check out Manscaped. Use the promo code TGT20. I did use it last night. I didn't use it in those one spots yet, but as soon I'm waiting till Sam gets his so we can do a comparison, not of that, but of the shave on it. All right, yeah. We're going to talk NFL news today. We are going to talk Giants Eagles tonight preview. And then, of course, we're going to do a buy or sell. Each division leader is the first place finisher, whether we believe they'll end up in first or not. We're going to start off with the Baltimore Ravens. Looks like they're going to sign Dez Bryant, and he has a workout scheduled with the Ravens today. The plan is for this one to end with a contract. NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport reported Thursday that the Ravens plan to sign the veteran wide receiver to the practice squad if his workout goes well and he passes a physical. Bryant worked out for the Ravens back in August, but no deal came. This week's check-in hopes to bear more fruit. The former Dallas Cowboy All-Pro has not played a regular season snap since 2017. The Cowboys cut Bryant in the spring of 18. He signed a one-year deal in New Orleans in November of 18, but tore his Achilles tendon 2 days later, abruptly ending his season. He's been planning on coming back. He's caught passes in the offseason from Dak Prescott and Patrick Mahomes. The Ravens have been in the market for a veteran receiver presence since the offseason, but decided to see what their young players brought to the table at the start of the season. Thus far, the Baltimore pass game has been hit or miss through 6 games. Marquise Brown leads the Ravens with 26 receptions, 376 yards. The number 2 receiver on the Ravens is Willie Snead, 11 grabs for 149. If healthy, and if Bryant has anything left, he could offer Lamar Jackson a veteran possession receiver for a Ravens playoff run. Do you think this helps the offense?
I mean, it's worth a shot. You're not really risking much in getting Dez Bryant in. And personally, I think he'd be good for red zone targets because they have Mark Andrews. Obviously, he's the big guy they're going after in the red zone. But you look around the rest of this roster, I mean, Willie Snead, Marquise Brown, Miles Boykin, none of these guys are red zone kind of players. You're not going to look for these guys. When you get down there, they're not big enough. Dez Bryant, on the other hand, he basically specialized in scoring touchdowns in Dallas. He had 3 years with over 10 touchdowns scored. Even if he's older, even if he's lost on that vertical, I still think he'd probably be your better or your best red zone receiver. So I think bringing in Dez Bryant's worth a shot. He would only be the second Pro Bowl wide receiver to miss 2 years and come back, according to Live Sports Bureau, and play again. So really, it's a hit or miss chance here. He's been hurt a lot. I think it's worthwhile to just go and sign him for practice squad, see what he can do.
Yeah, I think it's worth a shot. The Baltimore Ravens seem to be all in at making a Super Bowl run, as they have also announced that they have signed Yannick Ngakoue. That's a hell of a name. From the Minnesota Vikings. Ngakoue, to me, fits this defense perfectly because he's going to be a stand-up defensive end who's going to rush the passer. And he recorded five sacks in 6 games in Minnesota. He's playing on a 1-year, $12 million deal. So when you look at this, I think it's a good move by the Ravens.
Oh, it's a great move by Baltimore. And they specialize in trading basically for veteran players or even for Pro Bowlers and not having to give up much. And they really didn't in this situation. They sent a 2021 third-round pick and a 2022 conditional 5th-round pick to the Vikings to get Ngakoue. They basically traded for him for a 1-year rental, and they didn't have to give up much at all. And they've done this in the past. They did it to get Calais Campbell. They did get Marcus Peters. They've done a great job finding these players and trading for them and not having to give up basically any valuable selections. I mean, a 3rd-round pick, you can go without that. And now Ngakoue is being paired with Calais Campbell, who we had success with in Jacksonville for a while. And this is a point now where you got these 2 veteran players who have both been Pro Bowlers in the past. You're adding them to a defense that already has a good secondary and has a young linebacker who looks very good in Patrick Queen. And right now, this defense is getting much better, and this is really what Baltimore needed.
Yeah, and it's a bad move for the Vikings because they sent a 2021 second-round pick and a 2022 conditional 5th-rounder to the Jaguars. They're not getting that much in return. And when you look at this, the pairing with Baltimore is potentially a match made in edge rushing heaven. I mean, you've got Ngakoue, who reunites with Calais Campbell after playing part of his first season without him. And Campbell has been slightly more effective than Ngakoue, but this team, this defense, the pass rushing now on this team could be the thing that puts them over the top to possibly win the division.
And they still have Matt Judon there as well, and Judon was their best pass rusher last year. So now you're pairing basically two guys you didn't even have this past season when you were one of the best defenses in the NFL. You're bringing them in. You're putting them alongside Matt Judon. To me, this is not as good a pass rushing team as Pittsburgh. Still, I still think Pittsburgh is more specialized for that just because of the defense they run. But at the same point, this is going to be a top 4 defense, top 3 defense in terms of talent.
Yeah, and it makes this division really interesting because both teams have solid quarterbacks. Baltimore, I still think you got some receiving issues where you got Chase Claypool's really stepped up for the Steelers. But I think this is a dogfight. I think both of these teams are Super Bowl contenders now because I wasn't completely buying into the Ravens, but I think this addition really helps the defense out.
Yeah, I think if Baltimore realizes they have shortcomings somewhere else on the team, they prove they're willing to go out midseason and find guys. So even if Baltimore has issues here where they recognize we need another receiving threat, we need something extra on the offense or the defense to run the ball, I trust that they're going to go out there and find someone to trade for at a bargain value and add to the team. They've proven they're all in this year. They are not going to stop if they find some shortcomings. They're going to try to fix it before the trade deadline.
All right, let's move on to the New Orleans Saints, where they have possibly the best wide receiver in football, Michael Thomas. But I don't know if he's ever going to play here, Sam. The New Orleans Saints wide receiver picked up a hamstring injury in practice, and there's no decision yet for his availability for Sunday's game against the Carolina Panthers. Now, the 27-year-old hasn't played after suffering an ankle injury in week 1. He sat out against the Chargers in week 5 for disciplinary reasons. And this is another setback in a season that hasn't gone to plan for arguably the best receiver in the NFL and arguably a team that came in as a Super Bowl contender. And right now you got to question what's going on. I mean, I'm not questioning the injury, but it just seems like the Saints may be a little snake bit this year.
Yeah, but Michael Thomas is not the only receiver to have issues this season. Mike Evans got hurt, Chris Godwin, Devontae Adams. He's far from the only star receiver to have injuries. But at the same point, he's been very consistent throughout his career so far. He's basically played in every game since his rookie season. He only missed 1 game his entire career leading up to this season. And now he had the high ankle sprain. He had the 1-week suspension for discipline issues. And now it sounds like he's going to miss another game. If I'm the Saints, I don't push him back too fast because obviously you need him down the stretch. You need him to be healthy for the second half of the year. But at the same point, we've talked about Carolina in the past. If Teddy Bridgewater is hitting and recovers well from that Chicago game, I mean, Carolina could put up a dogfight here.
Yeah, and I think this is a huge game for the Saints because you get the Bucs at 4-2 who looked really good last week. And you've got the Panthers who, with a win here, would put themselves in a conversation to actually have a shot at this division all of a sudden.
Yeah, and the Saints now sitting at 3-2 with losses to the Raiders and the Packers. And the Packers just got decimated by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So it brings into question, where does this all fall into place here? How do these teams stack up? It's a little bit confusing. And frankly, if the Carolina Panthers go out and win, they would advance to 4-3. New Orleans would drop down to 3-3. So the Panthers would jump over the Saints in the rankings, I'm pretty sure. And I would really have to start raising questions about Drew Brees and Sean Payton after that.
Do we have to raise questions on Nato when you're playing without Michael Thomas? It's according to how they lose the game also, but
yeah,
I don't expect to lose the game even without Michael Thomas. If they do, I don't know how you can really question Sean Payton. You can question Drew Brees and his age. If Sean Payton all of a sudden uses Taysom Hill a bunch, then you could question him. But what I look at is Sean Payton's a good football coach. The thing is this, when time runs out on Drew Brees in New Orleans, does it run out on Sean Payton also?
See, that's the thing. I don't think it will run out. I think they'll give him time. The issue is I don't know if he'll be able to rebound and find a new player because he's been so enamored with Taysom Hill for some reason. I have a horrible feeling that he's going to give Taysom Hill more of a shot for that starting job than he deserves. And Teddy Bridgewater, Jameis Winston is only on a 1-year deal. So he's going to be out. He's going to be a free agent this coming season. I don't know they're going to find a successor. I don't know it's going to be that easy. They haven't drafted quarterbacks well while he's been there.
Well, there's not a lot of teams that have drafted quarterbacks well. I mean, if you look at it, half the league has a quality NFL quarterback. The other half is still looking for one.
That's fair. I suppose that's not the best criticism of him, but at the same point, I am still concerned because you have such consistency for so long with your Breeze that switching over could be difficult. We're even seeing it to some degree in New England right now when they're trying to put Cam Newton in there, trying to replace Tom Brady. That's not something you can do overnight with a Hall of Fame quarterback.
All right, next up, we have tonight's Titanic struggle between the New York Giants and the Philadelphia Eagles. Whoever wins this game could be in first place by the time this is over. And I don't think banged up even begins to describe the state of the Eagles roster. Now they're out Zach Ertz also, it looks like. And when you look at this, I mean, on the outside looking at it, I would say the Eagles win this game. They played the tougher schedule. They've played teams tough. They beat the 49ers, even though I think it was a little different 49er team than what we saw last week. I think the marquee matchup here is this. I think it's Eagles defensive tackle Fletcher Cox versus the Giants center Nick Gates. The 29-year-old Cox has not come close to matching his 2018 output of 10.5 sacks. He only had 3.5 in 2019. But Gates, in his first year at center, has gotten off to a rocky start. Since then, he's gotten a little bit better as he grows more acclimated to the position. But I think Fletcher Cox on the interior could really cause trouble for the New York Giants here.
I think the whole pass rush for the Eagles could potentially cause problems with Derek Barnett, Josh Sweat, especially Brandon Graham. But Fletcher Cox really has been a huge issue is not the right word, but he's been a disappointment so far for the Philadelphia Eagles because what he was in 2018 was arguably the second best defensive tackle in the NFL behind Aaron Donald. And he certainly has not been that in the past year and a half so far. They need him to start playing at a higher level to bring back the extreme dominance of that defensive front if they're going to be competitive. Because we know that secondary is always hit or miss with them. It always has been. It hasn't been an elite group in a long time. So to me, that defensive front is key for Philadelphia, and Fletcher Cox needs to show that he can still be the anchor of that unit.
All right, and this game features two of the lowest-rated quarterbacks in the league. Carson Wentz at number 30, Daniel Jones at number 31. Wentz has more passing yards, 1,400, 1,200, but he also has 9 interceptions. Just Kirk Cousins with 10 has more. Jones has 6, but of course Jones has probably fumbled the ball 700 times by now. And when you look at this, I mean, you have to favor Carson Wentz here. I just think with all the injuries they've played with, we've seen him, I think, over the last couple of weeks play a little bit better. Not having Zach Ertz hurts him, but you got to favor Carson Wentz here.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, he played Pittsburgh and Baltimore the past 2 weeks. He had 2 interceptions between both those games combined, but those are two of the best defenses in the NFL. And he performed fairly well against them. He kept Philadelphia in the game for most of those situations. So to me, what he's done so far has been somewhat impressive. Obviously, you want to cut down turnovers. I think the first 4 games of the year were very bad for him, but after that, I mean, considering the players he's playing with Travis Fulgham being your top receiving threat, I think he's doing fairly well.
All right, and there's a myriad of reasons, I think, why the Eagles have dominated Giants for the past 6 years. And one reason stands taller than the rest to me, and that's the inability of the Giants, when it counts, to keep the Eagles' pass rushers off the quarterback. In the last 6 games, the Eagles have 21 sacks. The Giants are interchanging rookie offensive tackles Andrew Tomas and Matt Pert, which is extremely rare. And my question here is, will Pert or Thomas get some snaps at right tackle in the place of veteran Cam Fleming? There are a lot of moving parts here, and none of them look like they could fall into place for the Giants anytime soon.
Yeah, they said that Thomas is going to be the starter going into this game. Whatever position he's been playing so far. So they're putting him in the starting role, and it's just the offensive line. There's so many problems with that. You honestly have to come out. I know Thomas was a fairly good draft pick before they took him to try to start fixing that line. To me, you almost have to dedicate an entire draft class to just trying to fix that unit, because even if you go halfway, the other half of this line is just going to fall apart, and you're never going to be able to develop anyone behind that group. You're never even going to be able to develop a running game behind that unit. So to me, they addressed the offensive line slightly during the offseason, but it wasn't nearly enough. And I think Andrew Thomas, I know he was very good going to the draft, but I still think he's a little bit over his head in the NFL. He hasn't kind of fit in yet, so I think he'll have issues defending against Philadelphia.
All right, next up, Well, number one, who do you think wins tonight, Giants or Eagles?
Oh, Eagles, easily.
All right. I agree. Eagles easily. Now we're buy or sell. Each division leader as a first place finisher. Do you buy them or do you sell them? Last year, each NFL division leader through week 6 finished in the top spot. So with injuries, the effects of COVID-19 on scheduling only one team from the previous season currently in first place, I think maybe we'll see more changes this time around. The Dallas Cowboys have had several injuries. They were embarrassed by the Arizona Cardinals. The NFC West could have a competitive finish with all 4 teams at or above 500. Meanwhile, the AFC North has 3 teams with winning records. Based on the remaining schedules, roster strength, weaknesses, we're going to buy or sell each first place team as a division winner for the season. We're going to start off with the AFC East, the Buffalo Bills, who are 4-2. I think this comes down to a 2-team battle between the Bills and the Patriots. The Dolphins, possibly, if Tua, fits in right away. But do you buy or sell the Buffalo Bills?
I'm going to buy the Buffalo Bills simply because the Patriots are already 2 games back, and they have serious issues there at quarterback. I mean, this is less about Buffalo being a strong team and more about New England just being a total question mark to me at this point, because obviously I trust Bill Belichick to get things done when he needs to. But between Cam Newton, Jarrett Stidham, Brian Hoyer, you have an issue at quarterback. We just saw this past week, and Newton got rattled by the Denver Broncos defense that struggled early in the season. And the offensive line, honestly, is not that terrific either. So really, they have problems there up front, especially on the offensive side of the ball. I'm taking the Buffalo Bills simply because there's no one else in that division that I would believe will get to 10 wins.
Yeah, Josh Allen struggled the last 2 games, but I think his ability to use his legs should pose a threat to New England's middle-ranked defense. I think they're like 15 or 16. And I think here, if the Bills can at least split the season series with the Patriots, they should maintain a lead in the standings. And I would sell the Patriots as even being a playoff team right now, to tell you the truth, Sam. So I think the bigger challenge here could come from Miami, but I will definitely buy Buffalo. I think Buffalo will win that division. Let's go to the AFC North, where you get the Pittsburgh Steelers leading division at 5-0. And when we look at that, Cleveland's still kind of in there at 4-2. Baltimore's 5-1. They made a couple big moves. Well, one big move today and one that could turn out to be a big move. But I think the Steelers-Ravens go down to the wire for the divisional crown. And you've got 2 head-to-head matchups yet. You got a common opponent, the Tennessee Titans. Pittsburgh Steelers, buy or sell. Take off your homer hat.
If I take my homer hat off, I'm probably going to sell them. I think Pittsburgh definitely makes the playoffs here. I think Baltimore just has a little bit of an advantage in terms of talent. I would probably take Baltimore just because it's usually how it's playing out. But I would put my homer hat back on, Mike. I would tell you that right now, Pittsburgh's offense is more efficient. I would tell them they have a better defense. And I would say, honestly, Pittsburgh's been an X factor so far this year. They are not dominating teams per se, but they're winning football games. And against the Tennessee Titans, if they can win this Titans game, I don't know how I could not buy the Pittsburgh Steelers.
All right. So are you buying them or selling them?
You know what? I'll buy Pittsburgh. I'm taking Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's winning this division this year.
All right. I agree. I buy also. And even though Pittsburgh lost inside linebacker Devin Bush for the season because of a torn ACL, the front 7, I think, has enough talent to stifle ground attacks. What's Baltimore? They're a ground attack. You got TJ Watt, Bud Dupree, Cameron Hayward, Stephon Tuitt, Vince Williams. They've combined recorded 29 tackles for losses. Robert Spillane flashed last week with 6 tackles, 1 for a loss in place of Bush. Mike Tomlin's a good football coach. I think right now the difference is I still think Pittsburgh's defense is better than Baltimore's. I think their offense is better, and I'm going to buy Big Ben before I'm going to buy Lamar Jackson. So I agree with you. I'm going to buy that also. Next up, the AFC South, led by the Tennessee Titans, who are 5-0. And regardless of what happens between the Titans and the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think the Titans are going to win this division. I think the Titans are just too good. The Colts are 4-2. They have Phillip Rivers, who looked great last week, but it was against the Bengals. You had Jonathan Taylor, who finally looked good, but it was against the Bengals. And Rivers has 7 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, which shows a continuation of his turnover-prone 2019 campaign. I think the Titans win this division running away.
Yeah, so do I. I mean, this is not going to be very competitive, even though the Colts are at 4-2. Philip Rivers has been pretty horrible. And honestly, the game plan they've gone to, and they're only running the ball for 70, 80 yards a game sometimes. That's not good either. So I have some serious questions about the Colts and what's really going on between the ears with this team with their quarterback so far. As for Tennessee, I mean, Mike Vrabel's guy's playing hard. He's been a phenomenal coach so far in his young career. They carried over the momentum they had from last season into this year. Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill, I don't know if there's a better quarterback running duo in the NFL right now than those two. So I think Tennessee will win this division. I have them right now as the best team in the AFC.
All right, next up we go to the AFC West. I think this is pretty cut and dry. You got the Kansas City Chiefs, even though they own a win, or the Kansas City Chiefs, the Oakland Raiders seem like the only two contenders here. I think the Raiders are going to be too inconsistent. I think they're a year or two away. Plus, they're going to need some help. They're a game and a half back, even though they won a game against the Chiefs. So Kansas City only faces 3 clubs with winning records in the last 10 games. So I think Kansas City ends up with 13 or 14 wins and runs away with this division also, Sam.
Well, you don't have any faith in Drew Lock in my preseason Denver Broncos pick to come back and make the ultimate turnaround?
I made fun of you at the time when you made the pick. So right now at 2-4, I don't think they're good. I'm going to ignore that.
Yeah, the worst enemy for the Kansas City Chiefs, the only way I could see them losing is something happens with injuries. I know they had Mahomes miss a couple games last year. Tyreek Hill's missed some time. That's really the only thing I could say that could potentially hurt the Chiefs' injuries at this point.
All right, Bobby Sheridan just tweeted to us that he would sell the Pittsburgh Steelers.
You know, I understand that, but at the same point, I'm going to sell the Pittsburgh Steelers. I put my faith in Big Ben. I put my faith in that offense.
I don't understand it. Big Ben is better than Lamar. I mean, sure, the Ravens could run the ball a little bit better, but they're not going to be able to throw the ball. Big Ben's only going to get better as the season goes along. He's learned how to take care of the ball. You've only got 1 turnover this year. Mike Tomlin is a good football coach. I think John Harbaugh is a slightly better football coach. But when you look defensively, you're going to bring in Ngakoue, but you also got to take a little bit of time for those guys to mesh together. And Ngakoue, not that great against the run, correct?
Yeah, it's primarily a pass rusher.
And
Pittsburgh's got more balanced players.
Yeah, teams have been able to run on Baltimore. So they're going to be able to rush the passer. I still think they're going to have a hard time stopping the run. I think Pittsburgh wins that division. Next up, the NFC East. Now, the NFC East may send a division winner with a non-winning record to the playoffs. At 2-4, the Dallas Cowboys somehow are in first place. The Cowboys beat the Giants, a couple weeks ago, but they gave up 34 points to them. And I think this. I don't think players have bought into Mike McCarthy's staff. And I think that you've got players, when you watch them, they look like they got players that are kind of improvising a bit on the field. And along with that disconnect, the Cowboys lost starter Dak Prescott. But even more important maybe that they don't have La'el Collins or Tyron Smith, who are 2 really good tackles. The 4-time All-Pro guard Zach Martin is in concussion protocol. The Cardinals sacked Andy Dalton 3 times Monday. They couldn't run the ball. Ezekiel Elliott was fumbling it. I'm going to go with Carson Wentz. I'm going to go with Doug Peterson. I think Doug Peterson is a better coach than anybody in this division. I think Doug Peterson is a better coach than most of the guys in the NFL. The injuries have been killing them. But at 1-4-1 to me, when I watch the Philadelphia Eagles now, when I watched them play the Bengals 3 or 4 weeks ago, they were terrible. Now when I watch them, they go down, they beat the 49ers. They played tough last week. When I look at them, they just look like a better football team than anybody else in the NFC East. So I'm going to sell the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, so will I. I think the Eagles have gotten a little bit of their grit back from this past year. I mean, towards the end of the season, they were battling injuries. They were kind of fighting. They were toughing it out. And really, we didn't see that through the first couple of weeks of the year. And then they suddenly started picking it up the last 2 or 3 games. They're starting to get a little bit of that fire back. And they're going to be without Zach Ertz. They're missing Miles Sanders for a little bit. And that offensive line's been really beat up. But at the same point, I'm always going to go down to I trust Doug Peterson to figure things out. I trust Carson Wentz to come through when they need him to. And frankly, the Eagles are just a better coach team. We saw the issues in Dallas. There are already rumors coming out of that locker room that the Dallas Cowboys players are upset with Mike McCarthy. I think he could be gone potentially after this season. After just 1 year. I really think that's an opportunity. I really think that could happen. if the best players in that locker room say we don't want him around anymore and tell Jerry Jones, there's a case here for Mike McCarthy to be fired after the year. And like you said, the offensive line, without those guys in Travis Frederick who retired, if Dak Prescott got hurt and they still had that offensive line, at least they could run the ball for 150 yards per game and maybe win that way. They can't do that right now. Zeke Elliott has not been as effective as he usually is. I'm taking Philadelphia.
All right, next up, we're going to go to the NFC North, where the surprising leader are the Chicago Bears, who were 5-1. The Green Bay Packers, this looks like a two-team race. The Packers are at 4-1. The Packers already have a couple divisional wins over the Vikings and the Lions. Nick Foles has been steady, but as long as they don't fall behind, they'll be fine. Do you buy into the Chicago Bears winning this division, or are you selling?
You know what? We talked about this a little bit the other day, but I'm selling the Chicago Bears. I know that defense has been very good. I know you could say that defense has even been great, potentially top 5 in the NFL right now. But at the same point, that's not a complete team to me. I don't trust Nick Foles when it counts. I know he had that incredible run a couple of years ago, but really, this is not Philadelphia. It's not going to be Philadelphia. I don't think he'll end up being Mr. Clutch when it counts. And I'm just going to go with Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. I know that defense got torched by Tampa Bay. They had troubles offensively. I still trust that they'll figure things out and get past Chicago. I don't know if they'll actually be a Super Bowl contender when it comes to the playoffs, but I think they'll finish ahead of Chicago.
All right. I'm going to buy the Chicago Bears.
I knew you were going to do that. I knew it.
You win with defense. I'm sorry. When I watch the Packers, I don't think the offensive line's that good. I don't think they have enough weapons at wide receiver. You're rolling with a really good running back and a great quarterback. The Packers on defense, I don't think are great. I think this. Nick Foles, I don't know what more you need a quarterback to do. I mean, he took the Eagles to the playoffs one year where I think he was like 29 touchdowns and 3 picks. He took the Eagles and won the Super Bowl against Bill Belichick. He is a proven winner, and I think that the Chicago Bears will win the NFC North.
I think you're crazy. I know it's great defense, Mike. I know it is, but really, I think there's too much of a gap.
Sam, how many times have I been wrong when I say stuff that you think is crazy?
You know, not very often. Really, you haven't been very often. But I'll be honest with you. I think Green Bay still has a little bit of a defense there. There's more of a defensive unit than I think people notice for the Packers. They've got enough of a well-rounded team to beat the Bears out here.
All right. Next up, the AFC South. We'll exclude the Atlanta Falcons because they're dead in the water. Carolina has looked impressive even without Christian McCaffrey, who I assume will be back. The Buccaneers had a decisive victory over the Panthers earlier. They also had a decisive victory last week over Green Bay. The New Orleans Saints are having issues with Michael Thomas being healthy. They've still got a head-to-head game to play, the Saints and the Bucs, in Tampa Bay. And also of note to me, the Saints have a 4-game stretch between weeks 12 and 15, going on the road for 3 consecutive weeks before coming home to play Kansas City. New Orleans will face Denver, Atlanta, and Philadelphia. Denver and Atlanta, you figure you're going to beat. Philadelphia could be rough. And I think this. I think I'm going to buy the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What I saw the other day was a very underrated defense, an average offensive line, and Tom Brady with pretty much all of his weapons healthy.
Yeah, the one thing that I'll say I could stop Tampa Bay doing in its tracks is that offensive line, which is average, like you said. But if Cam Jordan has a big day, if DeMario Davis comes off the edge a little bit on a few blitzes, you might end up with issues facing the New Orleans Saints. I think the Saints have already they've had some issues defensively, but they've already beaten the Tampa Bay Buccaneers once. I don't think it will be a similar situation again. Brady won't throw 2 picks like he did in week 1. He's got it figured out now offensively. There's just question marks to me about Tampa Bay as being a total complete team. I think the defense is phenomenal. I'll take the Buccaneers to win this division. The Saints, I mean, they both have holes. I think both teams have issues. But I'm definitely taking the Tampa Bay Buccaneers over the New Orleans Saints.
All right, let's move to the NFC West, where the Seattle Seahawks lead the division. And realistically, every team in the NFC West still has a legitimate shot to win the division. They all have records at or above 500. I think the 49ers you can count out because of injuries. I think they're still a good team. Maybe they can slip into the last playoff spot. But when you're missing Sherman, Bosa, Ford, Thomas, Kawan Williams, they're all on injured reserve. Williams could return in week 8. The Arizona Cardinals are 4-2, but to me, that's a little bit of smoke and mirrors when you look at them. I think Kyler Murray is way overrated, especially by you, because you're going to be wrong on that one too. I think the Rams have only beaten a vastly underwhelming NFC East. All 4 of their wins are against clubs in that division, and they've lost to the best teams they've played. So when I look at this, the Seahawks still don't really have statement wins against top-notch competition. But the Patriots do field a top half of the league defense. The Miami Dolphins are like 4th in scoring defense. And Russell Wilson is still cooking them up too. So I think when I look at this, I think that, to me, the Rams, Niners, Cardinals, all 3 have a shot to be in the playoffs. The Seattle Seahawks have a shot to be in the Super Bowl. So I'm going to buy.
Yeah, so we talked about the Rams, how weak their competition they play against has been. The Cardinals, they have wins against the banged-up 49ers, Washington, the Jets, and Dallas. So they have wins against a bunch of weak teams as well. The 49ers, they're not getting guys like – they're not getting Richard Sherman back until I think week 11 at the earliest. So they're having one of their best players miss most of the year. They don't have Nick Bosa. I'm taking the Seattle Seahawks. They're playing and they're performing well without Jamal Adams. He's missed the past, I think, 3 weeks or 4 weeks at this point. The defense is never going to be great. Even when Jamal Adams comes back, it's never going to be a great defense. You're going to have to score 30-plus points per game if you want to win, if you want to be able to compete at the highest level for Seattle. The thing is, Russell Wilson can do that right now. And with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, I mean, he's a scoring machine. He's going to be the MVP. I'm taking the Seattle Seahawks.
All right, Bobby Sheridan chimed in again with the NFC. Let's see what Bobby says, sell the Cowboys, sell the Bears, buy the Bucks, buy the Seahawks. So Bobby agrees with us on most everything. I'm the only one that's kind of out of the box with the Bears thing, and then Bobby's going to be completely wrong on that Ravens-Steelers thing.
Yeah, he will be.
Yeah, but that's all right, Bobby. Thanks for listening. Anything else before we wrap it up?
Nope, we've covered everything.
All right, I want to remind everybody, make sure you go to Manscaped, TGT20. Sam gets scared every time I bring up Manscaped because he thinks I'm going to make some off-the-wall joke. Don't you?
Yeah, you would never do that now, would you, Mike?
I did use it last night. I shaved my arms, not all the way because I'm not a woman, and it worked really good there. And I shaved my legs. Once again, I'm not a woman or a swimmer, so I didn't shave them all the way. But now I tend to find myself walking around rubbing my legs. And my wife said it makes my calves pop.
Hey, there you go.
There you go. She didn't know I had calves because all the hair on my legs before. Ooh. All right. So tomorrow we will be back at 1 o'clock to pick the games. If we doing anything else tomorrow? We're just here at 1 o'clock tomorrow to pick the games. Make sure you check us out on Rockfin. And it may get to the point where you can only see this show on Rockfin since YouTube has demonetized us. Make sure you go check out the Grueling Truth Sports Network on Facebook. Check out our GoFundMe page as we try to stay afloat since YouTube has cut our throat. There you go. That rhymed, didn't it? We're still on YouTube Live, Twitch, Periscope. We're on Facebook. Our group page on Facebook right now, we're not allowed to share our show because I don't know why, Sam. They didn't tell us, but
I don't know why either. It says I tried sharing it there, it's like you've had too many interactions with this page or Facebook friends duplicate actions or something like that. I don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you can have too many interactions on a social media platform, Sam.
Yeah, and it's only like we're doing this show once a day. It's not like we're spamming it like 3 times a day or something like that.
Yeah. So, and we're not spamming it. We are giving great content to people.
Exactly, quality content.
But if you're tired of the BS from ESPN, all that politically correct crap, go to the GoFundMe page, give us a little donation. You can go to Rockfin. You can hear pretty much and see everything we do on Rockfin also. You can sign up for a free account. There will be some premium content that we do that you have to pay $9.99 for. But when you pay the $9.94 to get a premium subscription to Rockfin, you get thousands of guys who are collaborators from Jason Burmis. I know Nick Lemming, who's a college football guru. He's got a show on there. So you get all of that. You don't get just us. It's a great buy. And check out Manscaped. Use the promo code TGT20. By November the 1st, me and Sam will be able to talk about it from experience because I can't wait till Sam saves his beard with it.
I'm telling you, you don't want to see that, Mike. You don't want to see that.
All right, how about this? If the Bears win the division, you have to shave your beard.
I'll shave the sides of my beard. I'll keep the center part while I'm shaving the
No,
sides.
you shave your beard. All
No.
right. If the Bears make it to the NFC Championship game, you shave it all.
Fine.
And if the Bears win the Super Bowl, you got to shave your head too.
Sure.
Okay, we heard it. We got to document this 35 minutes into this show, just in case. Now, we all know the Bears probably aren't winning the Super Bowl, but I just became a huge Bears fan. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. Make sure you check out thegruelingtruth.com. You can hear all of our podcasts after the show on iHeartRadio, iTunes, Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify. Wherever you find sports podcasts, you'll find The Grueling Truth. Check us out live tomorrow at 1 o'clock as we pick all of the Sunday games. But for now, for Sam Teets, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening and watching to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.